Media Fact Checker. Testing and reviewing chef's knives for home cooks and professional chefs. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Ben Lippitt tested 14 knives over a fortnight for The Guardian, focusing on tasks like dicing shallots, slicing tomatoes, and chopping herbs. The Wusthof Classic Chef Knife, 20 cm, was named the best chef's knife overall by Ben Lippitt in both articles. The Victorinox Fibrox Chef's Knife, 20 cm, was selected as the best budget knife, priced at £43. Ben Lippitt is a London-based chef, recipe developer, and best-selling food writer known for his accessible home cooking style. Helen Simmons, a knife specialist, advised against cutting stones, bones, or frozen food to preserve knife quality. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states the Blenheim Forge Santoku knife, 17.5 cm, is the best investment knife, while Article 2 does not mention this specific knife in its summary of top picks. Article 1 lists the Sabatier Cook's Knife, 25 cm, as the best workhorse Western-style knife, but Article 2 does not include this specific detail in its summary of top picks. Article 1 mentions the Opinel N-Degree 118 Chief Multipurpose Knife as the best knife for beginners, but Article 2 does not reference this specific recommendation. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Air Canada CEO's bilingual language failure after fatal airport crash in New York. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. 2 pilots were killed in a collision between an Air Canada Express jet, Flight 8646, and a Port Authority fire truck at New York's LaGuardia Airport on Sunday night, October 2024, around midnight local time. The pilots killed were Antoine Forrest, from Quebec, and Mackenzie Gunther, a 2023 graduate of Seneca Polytechnic's aviation program. Air Canada CEO Michael Rousseau released an English-only condolence video on Thursday, October 2024, using only 2 French words, bonjour and merci, and no fluent French. Rousseau acknowledged in a statement he does not speak French adequately and has been learning it since taking office in 2021. The CRJ-900 aircraft involved was operated by Jazz Aviation, a regional Air Canada partner, flying from Montreal to LaGuardia with 76 passengers and 4 crew members. But not all outlets told the same story. Newscomau reports the NTSB chair Jennifer Homendy explicitly said we have no indication that fatigue was a factor in the crash, while The Guardian does not mention fatigue at all. Newscomau states the NTSB revealed the fire truck was not equipped with a transponder, but The Guardian does not mention this technical detail. Newscomau includes a direct quote from Prime Minister Carney calling Rousseau's conduct very disappointed, as others are, rightly so, while The Guardian omits this exact phrasing. This story was covered by The Guardian and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Australian PM Albanese and Home Affairs Minister Burke heckled at Lakemba Mosque during Eid prayers. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Anthony Albanese and Tony Burke attended Lakemba Mosque in Sydney's west on Friday morning during Eid celebrations marking the end of Ramadan. Protesters at Lakemba Mosque shouted phrases including shame, disgrace, and genocide supporters at Albanese and Burke. One man was led out by police after booing Albanese and was later released without charge after being given a move-on direction. Gamal Kir, secretary of the Lebanese Muslim Association, delivered a statement criticizing Australia's involvement in the Middle East war and its impact on the Muslim community. The Lebanese Muslim Association defended hosting Albanese, stating his attendance was not a betrayal of its position on Gaza and Lebanon. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian reports Albanese was sat at the front of the mosque listening to Kir's statement, while the SMH says he and Burke were seated just ahead of Kir during the speech. The Guardian states protesters began heckling when some worshippers began to protest against his and Burke's attendance, while the SMH says protesters shouted over a speech being made by Gamal Kir. The Guardian notes Albanese made a quick exit after protesters gathered outside, But the SMH describes a chaotic scene with protesters pushing and shoving and a standoff before he escaped via a back door. This story was covered by The Guardian and Sydney Morning Herald. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Arrests and investigation into alleged kidnapping and murder of 85-year-old Chris Baghsarian in Sydney. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Chris Baghsarian, 85, was allegedly kidnapped from his North Ryde home on February 13 around 5 a.m. in a case of mistaken identity. His remains were found near a golf club in Pitt Town on February 24, 11 days after his disappearance. Two men, Gerard Andrews, 29, and Daniel Stevens, 24, were arrested and charged with murder and kidnapping with intent to ransom or cause grievous bodily harm in February. Two more people, a 23-year-old man and a 23-year-old woman, were arrested on March 13 during a search warrant at a Seven Hills home. Police seized firearms, firearm parts, ammunition, prohibited weapons, a significant quantity of prohibited drugs, and electronic devices during the Seven Hills raid. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC suggests the intended target was a relative of Dimitri Stepanyan, but this detail is not mentioned in the other two sources. The Guardian states Baghsarian's body was not found until February 24 despite being dumped days earlier, while NSW states it was found on February 24, 11 days after abduction, without specifying discovery timing. NSW reports the woman was charged with contravening an AVO, but ABC and The Guardian do not mention this charge. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Queensland government appoints controversial ex-police officer to Legal Aid Board amid Palm Island tensions. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Darren Robinson was a senior police officer, then Sen SGT, in 2004 and was part of the team investigating Mulrunji Doomadgee's death in custody on Palm Island. Robinson investigated a prior complaint against Christopher Hurley, accused of Doomadgee's death, and ruled the complaint fictitious. An inquest later described his investigation as superficial, biased and misleading, and his conclusion as dishonest and flew in the face of objective evidence. The Crime and Misconduct Commission recommended Robinson be disciplined alongside 3 other officers in 2015, but no disciplinary action was taken. Robinson was admitted to practice as a solicitor in 2014 and is now a Townsville-based lawyer. Queensland's Legal Aid Board was entirely replaced in February 2024 by the Liberal National Party government, with Darren Robinson appointed to the board. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states Robinson was appointed as part of a team of police sent to Palm Island to investigate Doomadgee's death, while Article 2 describes him as a principal antagonist in those events. Article 1 reports Robinson was offered the opportunity to comment but does not mention his denial of the claim about advising Barry not to seek police help, while Article 2 explicitly states Robinson denies this allegation. Article 1 quotes Education Minister Langbroek rejecting the Commission's finding that Robinson was dishonest, while Article 2 does not include this direct quote but references Justice Mortimer's broader criticism of Robinson's conduct. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Georgia Voll's record-breaking T20I century versus West Indies and Australia's series sweep. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Georgia Volume 50 scored the 3rd fastest T20 international century by an Australian woman in 52 balls against West Indies on the 26th of March, 2024, St Vincent. Voll's knock included 6 sixes and ended with a boundary off Deandra Dottin before she was bowled by Hayley Matthews. Australia won the T20I series against West Indies 3-0 via the DL's method after rain interrupted the final match. Hosts chased 101 from 10 overs, scoring 61 thirds. Sophie Molyneux scored 25 off 12 balls in her first series appearance after returning from back pain. Nicola Carey scored an unbeaten 24 off 20 balls, pushing her ahead of Talia McGrath in the England series rotation. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC describes Voll's century as the third fastest international T20 century by an Australian woman, implying exclusivity to Australian women, while The Guardian's list includes international records, e.g., Beth Mooney's 54-ball century versus Sri Lanka in 2019. ABC's headline uses blistering T20 ton against Windies, while The Guardian's headline omits blistering and uses quickfire ton. ABC mentions Voll's first T20 century explicitly in the opening paragraph, while The Guardian does not emphasize this as strongly. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Federal government urges Fair Work Commission for above-inflation minimum wage hike amid cost of living pressures. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The Albanese government submitted to the Fair Work Commission's annual wage review asking for an economically sustainable real wage increase for 2.7 million minimum wage and award-reliant workers in Australia. About 2.7 million Australians, roughly a quarter of the nation's workforce, are on the national minimum wage or award-reliant jobs. The current minimum wage is $948 per full-time week, which is $175.40 per week higher than when the Albanese government took office in 2022. The Fair Work Commission will decide on any wage increase in coming months, with the new rate set to take effect from July 1st. The Reserve Bank of Australia raised the official cash rate to 4.1% on March 17, 2026, marking the second consecutive hike in 2026. But not all outlets told the same story. News Kamau states the minimum wage is currently $175.40 per week higher than in 2022, while ABC does not explicitly state the current minimum wage increase amount but focuses on the $948 per week figure. News Kamau does not mention the Fair Work Commission's past determinations, 3.75% in 2024 and 3.5% in 2025, which ABC explicitly references. News Kamau does not mention the government's submission being ambiguous about what constitutes a real increase, which ABC highlights as a key point. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. ICE detains Canadian mother and autistic daughter in Texas immigration facilities. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Tanya Warner, 47, and her 7-year-old autistic daughter Ayla Lucas are Canadian citizens detained by ICE in Texas since March 14, 2025. The family was stopped at a Border Patrol checkpoint in Sarita, Texas, on March 14 while driving home from a baby shower in Raymondville. Tanya Warner holds a Texas driver's license, work visa, and a functional visa valid until 2030, according to Edward Warner and Amber Sinclair. Both mother and daughter were taken for fingerprinting at the checkpoint and did not return, per Edward Warner's statement to CTV News. The pair were initially held at the Rio Grande Valley Central Processing Center in McAllen, Texas, before being transferred to the Dilley Processing Center in South Texas. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states Tanya Warner moved to the US 5 years ago, 2020, but Article 2 says she moved in 2021 after marrying Edward Warner. Article 1 reports the family was held at Rio Grande Valley Central Processing Center initially, while Article 2 confirms this but adds they were moved to Dilley early on Friday without specifying the exact date. Article 1 does not mention Ayla's autism being explicitly tied to her detention context, while Article 2 focuses on her emotional distress and physical rash as trauma responses. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Ex-NRL star Wendell Saylor's criminal charges dismissed via mental health diversion. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Wendell Saylor was arrested on December 5, 2025, after resisting arrest at the Illawarra Master Builders Club in Wollongong, NSW, following a night of drinking. It took 9 police officers to arrest Saylor during the Wollongong incident due to his aggressive and hostile behavior, including resisting handcuffs and refusing to exit the police car. Saylor was charged with resisting arrest, hindering police, in the Wollongong incident and pleaded guilty. Saylor was on bail at the time of the Wollongong incident for a prior incident at Pappy's Bar in Sydney's CBD on November 6, 2024. During the Pappy's Bar incident, Saylor shouted F***King call the cops and see what happens and do you know who I am, after being asked to leave multiple times. But not all outlets told the same story. News Kamau Article 1 states Saylor was charged with remaining in the vicinity of a licensed premises after being asked to leave and stalking intimidation, while ABC only mentions common assault and other offences without specifying these exact charges. News Kamau Article 2 describes Saylor as being discharged under mental health legislation with conditions to seek help, but ABC states he was discharged into the care of his doctor GP to comply with a treatment plan. News Kamau Article 1 claims Saylor was kicked out of a cab for being aggressive towards the driver, but this detail is not mentioned in ABC or News Kamau Article 2. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Arrest of Declan Donnelly in Sydney grandfather's mistaken identity kidnapping and murder case. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Declan Donnelly, 23, was arrested on March 6 at a Seven Hills home in Sydney's west, charged with murder and kidnapping of Chris Baghsarian, 85, who was abducted from North Ryde on February 13 and found dead near Pitt Town Golf Course on February 24. Donnelly was found wearing only his underwear during the arrest, with an sawn-off shotgun allegedly found under his bed at the Seven Hills property along with ammunition and prohibited drugs, heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, cannabis. Gerard Andrews, 29, and Daniel Stevens, 24, were charged on March 5 with murder and kidnapping of Baghsarian, and remain in custody without entering pleas. Janice Thurston, 23, Donnelly's girlfriend, was arrested alongside him and sentenced to 10 months imprisonment, non-parole 6 months, for an apprehended violence order breach and a prior police assault charge. She was not charged in Baghsarian's death. Police allege Baghsarian was abducted in a case of mistaken identity, targeting Dimitri Stepanyan's father, who lived 3 doors down, instead, with a $50 million ransom demanded from Stepanyan's family. But not all outlets told the same story. News Kamau states Donnelly allegedly murdered Baghsarian between February 13 morning and February 14 at 9 p.m., but ABC and SMH do not specify this exact timeline. SMH reports police seized illegal firearms and firearms parts at Donnelly's home, while News Kamau and ABC only mention an sawn-off shotgun and ammunition. News Kamau claims Donnelly was found with a shotgun under the bed during the raid, but SMH does not specify the exact location of the firearm. This story was covered by ABC News, news.com.au, and Sydney Morning Herald. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. NSW government considering banning strata manager commissions to cut apartment costs. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. NSW Productivity Commissioner Peter Achterstraat's report recommends banning commissions for strata managers, citing conflicts of interest and inflated costs. The report estimates scrapping commissions could save apartment owners $333 million over 15 years in NSW. Over 550 submissions were received during consultation on the report, with strong support from apartment owners for reform. Strata managers in NSW can receive commissions of up to 20% on insurance policies, with a $50,000 policy generating a $10,000 commission split between brokers and managers. The NSW government has not yet committed to implementing the recommendations but will carefully consider them. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian emphasizes urgency with Achterstraat calling for reforms sooner rather than later, while the SMH frames the government's response as cautious with careful consideration. The ABC highlights that strata managers' commissions can amount to their entire profit margin, implied in source-specific, but the SMH specifies 15 to 25% of revenue in some cases, no direct contradiction but differing emphasis. The Guardian's case study shows commissions growing from $8,000 to $27,000 annually, while the SMH cites a $10,000 commission on a $50,000 policy as an example. Both are specific but not directly conflicting figures. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and Sydney Morning Herald. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Mohamed Salah's departure from Liverpool FC after 8 seasons. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Mohamed Salah scored 254 goals for Liverpool during his tenure. Article 1, 254, Article 2, 255, likely rounding difference. Salah won 2 Premier League titles with Liverpool, 2019-20 and 2023-24, and 1 UEFA Champions League, 2019. Salah scored 13 goals against Manchester United, including a decisive Anfield goal on January 19, 2020, that helped end United's 30-year league title drought. Salah was omitted from Liverpool's squad in December 2023 after a mixed-zone outburst about his relationship with manager Arne Slot. Salah scored 10 goals in a row for Liverpool, a club record. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states Salah scored 254 goals for Liverpool, while Article 2 claims 255 goals, likely a minor discrepancy. Article 1 implies Salah's 2022-23 season was his last elite peak due to title-winning effort, while Article 2 suggests his decline began earlier with form issues. Article 1 frames Salah's departure as a sadness due to the team's mess, whereas Article 2 attributes it more to tactical changes and age. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Sheffield Shield cricket final between Victoria and South Australia at Junction Oval. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Victoria and South Australia are playing the Sheffield Shield final at Melbourne's Junction Oval. Victoria finished top of the table with 7 wins from 10 matches. South Australia is the reigning champion attempting to win successive titles for the first time. The match is being covered with ball-by-ball updates and ABC Sport live call. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the two sources. This story was covered by ABC News. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. NFL player Cam Scatterbo's controversial denial of CTE and asthma legitimacy sparks backlash. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Cam Scatterbo, a 24-year-old New York Giants running back, dismissed chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, as an excuse and asthma as fake during a Bring the Juice podcast appearance in 2025. Scatterbo's comments included the statement, "Yeah, asthma's fake too, and just breathe air." CTE is a degenerative brain condition linked to repeated head trauma, with symptoms including mood swings, depression, suicidal thoughts, and memory loss. A 2017 study found CTE in 110 of 111 former football players examined, and the NFL acknowledged a link between football and CTE in 2016. Scatterbo scored 7 touchdowns and ran for 410 yards in his rookie season, 2025, before an ankle injury ended it. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states Scatterbo's apology included the phrase, "It was never my intention to downplay the seriousness of head injuries or asthma," while Article 2 does not mention this exact phrasing. Article 1 references a 2017 study finding CTE in 110 of 111 former football players, whereas Article 2 cites a 2023 Boston University study with a 92% prevalence rate. Article 1 includes Scatterbo's mother's response about her asthma and Cam's childhood anecdote, which is not present in Article 2. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Nicola Olislagers wins silver in women's high jump at World Athletics Indoor Championships 2024. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Nicola Olislagers shared silver in the women's high jump at the World Athletics Indoor Championships in Torun, Poland. Olislagers cleared 1.99 meters to finish second, tied with Yulia Levchenko, Ukraine, and Angelina Topic, Serbia. Yaroslava Mahuchik, Ukraine, won gold with a clearance of 2.01 meters. All top 4 jumpers cleared 1.99 meters on their first attempt. Eleanor Patterson, Australia, finished 7th with a best of 1.93 meters. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC reports Eleanor Patterson's time as 1.93 m, while Guardian does not specify her exact best height but confirms she finished 7th. ABC states Jess Hull's 500 m heat time as 4 minutes and 12.45 seconds, but Guardian does not mention her performance in this event. ABC reports Adam Spencer's 500 m heat time as 3 minutes and 40.79 seconds, but Guardian does not mention his qualification. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Arson attack on Jewish ambulances in London's Golders Green treated as anti-Semitic hate crime. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. 4 ambulances belonging to Hatzolah Northwest, a Jewish charity, were set on fire in Golders Green, London, on Monday morning, local time, around 1:15 to 1:45 am. The attack occurred near the Matchsike Hadath Synagogue on Highfield Road, Golders Green, a neighborhood with a large Jewish population. Explosions were caused by oxygen cylinders on the ambulances, shattering windows in an adjacent apartment block and forcing evacuations but resulting in no injuries. Police, Metropolitan Police, are investigating the incident as an anti-Semitic hate crime, with Commander Helen Flanagan, head of Counter-Terrorism Policing London, confirming this classification. CCTV footage suggests at least 3 people were involved in the arson, though 2 men aged 45 and 47 were arrested on Wednesday, local time, on suspicion of arson with intent to endanger life. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1, ABC, states police have not declared the incident a terror attack, but Article 7, ABC, implies it is still under investigation for potential terror links via a group with Iran ties. Article 4, Guardian, and Article 7, ABC, both mention 3 suspects from CCTV footage, but Article 1, ABC, notes Commander Flanagan said surveillance footage suggested 3 people were involved while also stating police have not declared it a terror attack, implying ambiguity in the investigation's focus. Article 6, Guardian, states the 2 arrested men are UK nationals, a detail not mentioned in any other source. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, and SBS News. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Australia approves massive coal seam gas expansion in Queensland until 2081. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The federal government approved the Australia Pacific LNG, APLNG, project for up to 1,695 new gas wells in Queensland's Surrott and Bowen basins until 2081. The project includes 1,545 kilometres of gas and water pipelines and 3 processing facilities. APLNG is a joint venture between ConocoPhillips, US, Origin Energy, Australia, and Sinopec, China. The project is expected to produce about 2,033 petajoules of gas and operate until 2061, with an extension to 2081 for environmental compliance. The project's public environment report estimated 9 million tonnes of CO2 emissions during construction and operation, plus 111 million tonnes from burning the gas. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian states the project's lifetime emissions are about 120 million tonnes, while the ABC does not provide a lifetime emissions figure but cites 9 million tonnes during construction operation and 111 million tonnes from burning gas, no total given. The Guardian highlights the project as the 36th fossil fuel approval by the Albanese government, but the ABC does not mention this specific count. The Guardian emphasizes the project is primarily for multinational gas exporters' profits, while the ABC focuses more on job creation and domestic supply benefits. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Democratic victory in Florida special election flips Trump-backed district near Mar-a-Lago. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Emily Gregory, a Democrat with no prior political experience, won Florida's 87th State House special election on date. The seat was previously held by Republican Mike Caruso, who won by 19 percentage points in 2024 before resigning to become Palm Beach County Clerk. Donald Trump endorsed Republican John Maples, a financial advisor, in the race and described him as backed by so many of my Palm Beach County friends. Donald Trump voted by mail in the special election despite publicly criticizing mail-in voting as a source of fraud. Emily Gregory led by 2.4 percentage points, 797 votes, after all votes were counted. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states Trump's personal residence was switched to Mar-a-Lago during his first term, while The Guardian does not mention this detail. ABC includes a Brookings Institution fraud statistic, 0.000043%, not referenced by The Guardian. ABC quotes Trump's exact words about Maples being backed by so many of my Palm Beach County friends, while The Guardian omits this phrasing. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Australia's February inflation data and rising energy prices amid US-Israel-Iran conflict impact economic policy. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. February headline CPI rose 3.7% year-on-year, down 0.1% from January's 3.8%, ABC, Guardian, news.com.au. Underlying inflation, trimmed mean, remained steady at 3.3% in February, ABC, news.com.au. The Reserve Bank of Australia, RBA, lifted interest rates for the second time in 2026 on March 19, ABC, Guardian, news.com.au. The US-Israel-Iran conflict began on February 28, with energy price spikes not yet reflected in February CPI data, ABC, Guardian, news.com.au. Brent crude oil prices reached $103 per barrel, 148 Australian dollars, in March, pushing Australian petrol prices above $2.40 per litre, news.com.au, Guardian. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC reports Lucy Ellis saying headline inflation to head up to around 5%, while news.com.au's Bob Cunneen frames 5% as a prospect without explicit prediction. The Guardian claims markets briefly priced in a cash rate of 4.85% before calming down, but ABC and news.com.au do not mention this specific peak. Guardian states December quarter wage rises averaged 3.7%, lowest since mid-2023, contradicting ABC's focus on tight labor market as a primary inflation driver. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Nicolas Maduro's court appearance in New York for narco-terrorism charges and legal funding disputes. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Nicolas Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores appeared in a Manhattan federal court on the 15th of February, 2024, or first court appearance since January 2024, for narco-terrorism and narcotics-related charges. Maduro and Flores were captured by U.S. Special Forces in a pre-dawn raid in Caracas, Venezuela on the 3rd of January, 2024. They are currently detained in a Brooklyn, New York detention center and have not been released on bail. Maduro and Flores both pleaded not guilty during their arraignment on the 5th of January, 2024. The U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, initially granted a waiver for Venezuela's government to fund Maduro's defense on the 9th of January, 2024, then reversed it 3 hours later. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC reports Maduro and Flores appeared in court for the first time since January 2024, while Guardian articles describe their first court appearance since January 2024 as a return to court on the 15th of February, 2024, implying prior appearances. The Guardian states Maduro and Flores were captured in a raid that reportedly killed 100 people, while ABC does not mention a death toll but describes a controversial pre-dawn raid. ABC does not mention the US-Israel oil crisis influencing the court's stance on funding, while The Guardian explicitly ties it to Judge Hellerstein's comments about Venezuelan oil's newfound importance. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Liberal MP Andrew Hastie's open stance on 25% gas profit tax amid global energy crisis. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Andrew Hastie, Liberal MP and opposition spokesman for sovereign capability, is open to a 25% tax on gas profits, reportedly modelled by Treasury on request of the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. The Greens and former Climate 200-backed Senator David Pocock have championed a 25% export tax on gas profits, with the Greens estimating a 25% petroleum resource rent tax, PRRT, increase could raise $17 billion per year. Hastie referenced Norway's sovereign wealth fund, which has assets worth over $3.2 trillion, as a model for an Australian version. Hastie stated, "I think a lot of people, Australians, feel like the multinationals don't have a social license, that they've had a really good run of our wealth here. The Iranian regime's efforts to block the Strait of Hormuz have contributed to the global energy crisis, with gas prices spiking due to war." But not all outlets told the same story. Newskamau mentions a $3.2 trillion asset value for Norway's sovereign wealth fund, while Guardian states $2.2 trillion, US, $3.2 trillion, AUD, without specifying the exact figure. Newskamau does not mention budget leaks or Treasury's direct modelling of the tax, while Guardian explicitly states the Albanese government is modelling the tax proposal. Newskamau does not reference the US-Israeli bombings of Iran as a direct trigger for Treasury's modelling, while Guardian links the energy crisis to these attacks. This story was covered by The Guardian and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. ABC staff strike over rejected pay offer and conditions dispute. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. ABC workers went on a 24-hour strike starting at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time on Wednesday, the first in 2 decades. 60% of ABC staff who participated in the vote rejected the latest pay offer, with 75.6% of the workforce voting, approximate 4,500 staff total. The rejected pay offer included a 3.5% pay rise in the first year, 3.25% in the second and third years, plus a $1,000 one-off bonus for ongoing fixed-term staff. ABC Managing Director Hugh Marks apologised to audiences and staff for the strike, calling it very unfortunate. BBC content, reruns, and parliamentary statements replaced local ABC programming during the strike. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC sources state the rejected pay offer was 3.5%, 3.25%, 3.25% over 3 years, while The Guardian implies it was 3.5%, 3.25%, 3.25%, same, but emphasizes the 10% total is misleading due to inflation. ABC sources report 60% of staff who participated voted no, 75.6% of workforce voted, while The Guardian and News Corp Australia both confirm 60% rejection but do not specify participation rate beyond majority. ABC sources state the $1,000 bonus applied to ongoing and fixed-term staff, while The Guardian specifies it excluded casual staff, no contradiction in scope but adds nuance. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Football Australia schedules Matildas against low-ranked teams ahead of 2027 World Cup. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The Matildas will play in a FIFA Series 2026 friendly tournament in Nairobi, Kenya, starting April 2024. Australia's next matches are against Malawi, FIFA rank 153, followed by either India, 67, or Kenya, 134. The Matildas lost 1-0 to Japan in the 2024 Asian Cup final on March 24, 2024. Football Australia's Executive Director Heather Garriock stated the team's options were limited in the April window due to other nations qualifying for major tournaments. FIFA announced the Matildas' participation in the Nairobi series on March 26, 2024. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states Football Australia's focus is on playing top 15 opponents, while The Guardian implies the team's options were limited due to scheduling conflicts rather than a deliberate strategy. The Guardian suggests the April window is a calamity and wasting resources, while ABC frames it as a necessary preparation step despite limited options. ABC mentions Malawi's top strikers, Chawinga sisters, as a worthwhile challenge, but The Guardian does not highlight this aspect of the matchup. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Victorian public school teachers staging first strike in 13 years over pay and conditions. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Thousands, 30,000 plus, of Victorian public school teachers, principals, and education support staff are striking on Tuesday, the first strike in the state's public school system since 2013. The Australian Education Union, AEU, secured Fair Work Commission approval for the 24-hour strike after 98% of its members voted in favour over low pay and excessive workloads. The AEU is demanding a 35% pay increase over 4 years, citing Victorian teachers as the lowest paid in Australia compared to interstate counterparts. The Victorian government offered an 18.5% pay rise, 8% immediate plus 3% annual increments, to teachers and 4% for support staff, which the AEU rejected as totally unacceptable. The state government insists schools will remain open on Tuesday, though many will only supervise a limited number of students or prioritise children of emergency workers. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian and ABC report that some principals advised parents to keep children home, while The Age states the government insists schools will remain open despite this advice. The Guardian and ABC mention that up to 500 schools will be closed or significantly affected, but news.com.au and The Age frame it as schools remaining open with limited supervision. The Age claims the government's 18.5% offer was made 9 months after negotiations began, while ABC and Guardian state it was made after the union moved to strike, after 1 year of talks. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, and The Age. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Kyle Sandilands sues ARN Media over $100 million contract termination after on-air dispute with Jackie O. Henderson. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Kyle Sandilands and Jackie O. Henderson signed 10-year, $100 million contracts with ARN Media in 2023 for the Kyle and Jackie O Show on Kiss FM, ABC, Newscomau, Guardian, SMH. ARN Media terminated Sandilands' $100 million contract on March 13, 2024, after a 7-minute on-air argument with Henderson on February 20, 2024, ABC, Newscomau, Guardian, SMH. Sandilands accused Henderson of being off with the fairies and called her almost unworkable due to her horoscope fixation during the argument, ABC, Newscomau, SMH. ARN Media gave Sandilands 14 days to remedy the act of serious misconduct before terminating his contract, ABC, Newscomau, Guardian, SMH. Henderson's $100 million contract was terminated by ARN Media on March 3, 2024, after she told ARN she could not continue working with Sandilands, ABC, Newscomau, SMH. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC and Newscomau both report that Henderson denied ever resigning or quitting, But Newscomau also reports that ARN terminated Henderson's contract after she told them she could not continue working with Sandilands, which Henderson later denied. ABC Article 1, Newscomau Article 2. The Guardian says CBC's barrister Tom Blackburn SC said the prospect of Sandilands being reinstated was vanishingly small, while Sandilands' barrister Scott Robertson SC argued the case could be resolved quickly and that the termination was invalid. Guardian Article 4. ABC and SMH both report that Henderson's contract was terminated after she told ARN she could not work with Sandilands, but SMH includes a source stating Henderson's management and legal representatives informed ARN of this, which Henderson herself has not confirmed. ABC Article 1, SMH Article 7. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, and Sydney Morning Herald. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Stephen Colbert co-writing a new Lord of the Rings film titled Shadow of the Past. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Stephen Colbert is co-writing a new Lord of the Rings film titled Lord of the Rings, Shadow of the Past. The film will be developed by Colbert, his son Peter McGee, and Philippe R. Boyens, original trilogy screenwriter. Peter Jackson is involved in the project as producer alongside Fran Walsh and Philippe R. Boyens. The film is set 14 years after the events of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, following Sam, Merry, and Pippin. Sam's daughter Eleanor discovers a secret explaining why the War of the Ring was nearly lost before it began. But not all outlets told the same story. Guardian, Article 1, suggests the film will take inspiration from chapters 3 to 8 but not adapt them directly, while Guardian, Article 3, states Colbert explicitly sought to adapt these chapters into a standalone story. Guardian, Article 1, implies the film's focus is on Tom Bombadil's role in the mystery, but does not confirm his direct involvement in the plot, while Guardian, Article 3, does not explicitly mention Bombadil's role beyond chapters 3 to 8. ABC states the original trilogy grossed over $2.9 billion worldwide, while Guardian, Article 2, adjusts this to $4.1 billion, likely including inflation or re-releases, though both agree on the core figure of $2.9 billion. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Coroner's inquest into influencers' free birth death and birthkeepers' refusal to testify. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Stacey Warner-Key, 30, died from a postpartum hemorrhage and cardiac arrest after a free birth at home in Melbourne on September 29, 2025. Emily Lowell, known as the authentic birthkeeper, was present during Stacey Warner-Key's home birth and when 000 was called at 4:13 a.m. Stacey Warner-Key's husband Nathan shared a heartbreaking Instagram post announcing her death on October 2025, stating hospital staff were amazing but nothing could be done. A coroner's inquest into Warner-Key's death is proposed for mid-June 2026, with a directions hearing held on May 13, 2026. Emily Lowell has refused to provide a statement for the inquest, citing privilege against self-incrimination. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC states the inquest is proposed for mid-June without a specific date, while Newscomau specifies June 15 to 19, 2026. ABC mentions the interim ban on Emily Lowell is pending the outcome of an investigation without a specific end date, while Newscomau states it remains in effect until April 7, 2026. ABC does not mention the possibility of a witness summons being issued for oral evidence, while Newscomau explicitly states counsel proposed this. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Donald Trump criticizes Australia and NATO allies over Iran conflict support. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Donald Trump called Australia's response to the US-Israel war on Iran not great and said he was surprised by Australia's lack of involvement during a White House press conference on February 29, 2024. Trump stated that Australia, alongside NATO countries like the UK, did not provide military support for securing the Strait of Hormuz during the Iran conflict, with the UK offering aircraft carriers only after the war had begun. Australia's Defence Minister Richard Marles confirmed Australia had not rejected any US requests but emphasised that support is provided based on national interest, and that Australia had delivered defensive support to the UAE, missiles and a surveillance aircraft. Trump described the Iran conflict as a little league war and implied allies would not support the US in a larger conflict, stating, "We spend trillions protecting Europe, they weren't there for us." Trump previously criticized Australia on social media for refusing to assist in securing the Strait of Hormuz, calling allies' inaction shocking and claiming the US does not need the help of anyone. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian and ABC report Trump's criticism of Australia's lack of support, but only ABC mentions Trump's claim that Iran offered 8 big boats of oil as a gesture of goodwill, which Iran has not confirmed. The Guardian and ABC both cite Trump's Little League comment about the Iran conflict, but only ABC includes his direct threat that Iran would face more death and destruction if it rejects the ceasefire proposal. The Guardian and ABC report Trump's criticism of the UK's delayed aircraft carrier offer, but only The Guardian includes Trump's specific comparison that UK carriers are toys compared to US ones. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Trump orders ICE agents to US airports amid DHS funding shutdown and TSA staff shortages. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Donald Trump threatened to deploy ICE agents to US airports starting Monday, the 24th of March, 2026, if Democrats did not fund DHS, per ABC, Guardian, X3, and ABC, X2. The partial government shutdown began on the 14th of February, 2026 and is in its 36th day as of the 24th of March, 2026, per ABC, Guardian, X2, and ABC, X2. More than 400 TSA workers have quit since the shutdown began, per ABC, Guardian, X2, and ABC, X2. TSA officers are missing a second full paycheck on the 27th of March, 2026 due to the shutdown, per Guardian, X2, and ABC. ICE agents are not trained for airport security, which is TSA's domain, per ABC, Guardian, X2, and ABC. But not all outlets told the same story. ABC, Article 1, states Trump's deployment would begin on Monday if Democrats don't agree, while Guardian, Article 3, says Trump's post on Saturday included a threat to deploy ICE agents if the radical left Democrats don't immediately sign an agreement. ABC, Article 1, reports 400-plus TSA workers have quit, while Guardian, Article 5, states nearly 500 TSA officers have quit since the shutdown began. ABC, Article 4, says Homan mentioned a plan by the end of today, the 23rd of March, for deployment details, but Guardian, Article 6, does not mention this timeline explicitly. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Australia's waste sector faces diesel shortages threatening service disruptions and public health risks. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Waste Contractors and Recyclers Association of NSW Chief Brett Lemon wrote a letter to Federal Energy Minister Chris Bowen warning of potentially catastrophic health and environmental consequences if garbage collection stops due to diesel shortages. Queensland Waste Recycling Industry Association CEO Alison Price stated some members have received less than half their regular diesel allocations, with one operator in NSW receiving only 12,000L instead of their usual 50,000L fortnightly delivery. WA Waste Management and Recycling Association Chief Mike Bobrowich reported West Australian operators expect to receive only about half their regular diesel allocations at their next refill. Peak waste associations are scheduled to meet with Assistant Environment Minister Josh Wilson in Canberra this week to advocate for inclusion on the Priority Fuel User List under the Liquid Fuel Emergency Act. The federal government temporarily lowered the safe temperature threshold for diesel imports to allow more supplies from Canada, Europe, and the US. But not all outlets told the same story. No contradictions found between the two sources on core factual claims. This story was covered by ABC News and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. ABC staff 24-hour strike over pay and conditions, BBC content replacement. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Over 2,000 ABC staff walked off the job for a 24-hour strike on Wednesday, the first in 2 decades. The strike began at 11 a.m. and affected TV, radio, and digital services across Australia. ABC TV switched to BBC World Service programming, including 7.30 with Sarah Ferguson and News Breakfast. ABC radio networks, e.g., Radio National, Triple J, played pre-recorded music, repeats, or BBC simulcasts during the strike. The Media, Entertainment and Arts Alliance, MEAA, and Community and Public Sector Union, CPSU, organised the strike. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states over 2,000 staff walked out, while Article 2 specifies 1,200 MEAA members, out of 4,500 total, went on strike. Article 2 claims Mark's 10% offer puts staff at 4.4% inflation-adjusted pay, but Article 3 states Marks argued the offer was appropriately balanced without explicitly confirming 4.4%. Article 1 describes the strike as primarily about sustainable, secure work, while Article 3 quotes Marks dismissing job security as the core issue, calling it inaccurate. This story was covered by The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. IOC bans transgender women from female Olympic events via SRY gene testing starting 2028. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The IOC announced a ban on transgender women competing in female Olympic events starting from the 2028 Los Angeles Games, effective immediately for future Olympics. All athletes competing in female Olympic events will undergo a one-time SRY gene test to determine biological sex, using methods like saliva or cheek swabs. New Zealand's Laurel Hubbard was the first openly transgender athlete to compete in a different gender category at the Olympics, participating in the Tokyo 2020 weightlifting event. The IOC's new policy applies only to elite Olympic sport and does not affect grassroots or amateur sports. The IOC claims the SRY gene test is fixed throughout life and highly accurate for determining male sex development, based on scientific evidence. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian reports that the SRY gene test is unreliable and reductive according to medical experts, while the IOC and ABC claim it is highly accurate and fixed throughout life. The Guardian states the IOC's policy contravenes international human rights law and Australia's Sex Discrimination Act, but the ABC and Guardian, in quotes from AOC, frame it as providing fairness, safety, and integrity. The Guardian cites a study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine finding that transgender women's physical fitness is comparable to cisgender women, while the IOC and ABC emphasize a persistent male performance advantage. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. US-Iran escalation over Strait of Hormuz and energy infrastructure threats in Middle East war. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Donald Trump gave Iran a 48-hour deadline, until 23:44 Greenwich Mean Time on March 25, to fully reopen the Strait of Hormuz without threat, or face US strikes on Iran's power plants, posting on Truth Social on March 24, 2026. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf stated that if Iran's power plants and infrastructure are targeted, vital infrastructure as well as energy and oil infrastructure across the entire region will be considered legitimate targets and will be irreversibly destroyed, according to statements on March 24 to 25, 2026. Iran's military operational command Qatem al-Anbiya warned that if the US targets Iran's power plants, the Strait of Hormuz will be completely closed and will not reopen until Iran's destroyed power plants are rebuilt, as reported on March 24 to 25, 2026. Iran's missiles struck southern Israeli cities Dimona and Orod on March 24 to 25, injuring approximately 200 people, including children, and damaging buildings, with Israeli air defenses failing to intercept some strikes, confirmed by multiple sources. The Strait of Hormuz remains effectively closed to vessels linked to Iran's enemies, US and Israel, as per Ali Mousavi, Iran's representative to the International Maritime Organization, on March 24 to 25, 2026. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian, Steve Reed, denied Iran was targeting Europe, stating he was not aware of any assessment that Iran intended to strike European capitals, while the Israeli military chief Eyal Zami claimed Iran's missiles had a range reaching Berlin, Paris, or Berlin, implying a direct threat to Europe. ABC reported that Lebanese President Joseph Aoun accused Israel of laying the groundwork for an invasion in Lebanon's south, while Israel's military stated it was targeting Hezbollah infrastructure to contain the threat in the south and eliminate it, framing the strikes as defensive rather than preparatory for an invasion. The Guardian, Steve Reed, stated Trump was speaking for himself when threatening to obliterate Iran's power plants, while other sources, e.g., Newscomau, SMH, presented the threat as an official U.S. administration stance without qualifying it as Trump's personal opinion. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, news.com.au, and Sydney Morning Herald. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Matildas lose 1-0 to Japan in Women's Asian Cup final at Stadium Australia. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The Women's Asian Cup final was played at Stadium Australia in Sydney on March 21, 2026, with a crowd of 74,397 fans. Japan won the Women's Asian Cup final 1-0 against Australia, securing their third title, previous wins in 2014 and 2018. Micah Hameno scored the only goal of the match for Japan in the 15th minute, a curling shot past Mackenzie Arnold. Australia's starting lineup included Sam Kerr, captain, Caitlin Ford, Alana Kennedy, Ellie Carpenter, and Caitlin Torpey. Japan's starting lineup featured Ayaka Yamashita, goalkeeper, Micah Hameno, Riko Uki, and captain Yui Hasegawa. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1, ABC, states the crowd for the final was almost 80,000, while Article 3, Guardian, specifies the crowd was 74,397. Article 2, Guardian, claims Japan won their semi-final 4-1 over South Korea, but Article 7, ABC, describes it as a 4-1 win without specifying the exact score, though both agree on the result. Article 5, Guardian, says the Matildas had at least half a dozen clear chances in the final, while Article 1, ABC, mentions a handful of good chances and Article 2, Guardian, notes multiple chances but does not specify a number. This story was covered by ABC News and The Guardian. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Iranian Australians and global Iranians celebrate Nowruz amid war and government suppression. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. Nowruz began on March 21, 2024, marking the spring equinox in the Northern Hemisphere. Nowruz is a 2,000 to 3,000-year-old festival observed in Iran, Afghanistan, Albania, Uzbekistan, Georgia, Kyrgyzstan, and diaspora communities worldwide. The Haft scene is a traditional Nowruz spread featuring 7 symbolic items starting with the letter S in Farsi. Iranian authorities restrict or discourage pre-Islamic traditions like Nowruz, with surveillance and threats of arrest reported. Nasreen Kaur, an Iranian Australian, moved to Aidlong, NSW, population less than 1,000, in 2019 and faces challenges celebrating Nowruz without family in Iran due to internet blackouts and war. But not all outlets told the same story. Article 1 states Nasreen Kaur moved to Aidlong in 2019, while no other source confirms this specific location or timeline. Article 1 describes Nowruz as a 2,000-year-old festival, while Article 2 claims it dates back over 3,000 years. Article 1 does not mention government surveillance or threats of arrest for Nowruz celebrations, only internet blackouts and network shutdowns. This story was covered by ABC News. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Global oil crisis triggered by Middle East conflict and Strait of Hormuz blockage. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. The International Energy Agency, IEA, issued a global warning on Friday urging governments to reduce oil demand through measures like working from home, cutting speed limits by 10 km per hour, and avoiding air travel to offset a severe oil shortage caused by the Middle East conflict. The IEA released 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves on March 14, marking the largest stock draw in its history to address the crisis. The Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of global oil supply passes through, has seen shipping reduced to a trickle due to the conflict between Israel and Iran, causing crude oil prices to exceed $100 per barrel. IEA Executive Director Fatih Birol stated that the war in the Middle East is creating the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market and warned that without swift resolution, impacts on energy markets and economies will worsen. Australia's last 2 oil refineries received state subsidies extended into the next decade amid heightened concerns about self-sufficiency and rising global LNG prices. But not all outlets told the same story. Thij and SMH report that Australia was not part of a joint Western statement on the Strait of Hormuz, but The Guardian does not mention this omission specifically. Thij and SMH mention that the Albanese government has emergency powers to nationalise fuel supply but states they are not being used as of this week, while Newscomau does not mention these powers. Thij and SMH report that the government is considering more drastic fuel conservation measures but is not publicly discussing them, while The Guardian does not explicitly mention this consideration. This story was covered by The Guardian, news.com.au, Sydney Morning Herald and The Age. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis. Media Fact Checker. Australia's fuel supply crisis amid Middle East conflict and Strait of Hormuz blockade. All source articles are linked in the description below. Here's what every outlet agrees on. 6 fuel ships bound for Australia, from Malaysia, Singapore, and South Korea, were cancelled or deferred in April 2024, with 74 out of 80 expected shipments still proceeding over April and May. ABC, Guardian, news.com.au, ABC. Australia's fuel reserves currently hold 38 days worth of petrol, 30 days of diesel, and 30 days of jet fuel. ABC, Guardian, news.com.au. The Strait of Hormuz blockade has disrupted about 20% of global oil supply, affecting Asian refineries that supply Australia. ABC, Guardian. Australia's 2 refineries, Ample Lytton Refinery in Brisbane and Viva Energy Geelong Refinery in Victoria, produce less than 20% of domestic fuel demand. ABC. The federal government has released 519 million litres of petrol and diesel from reserves, with 100 million litres month added due to relaxed fuel standards. ABC, news.com.au. But not all outlets told the same story. The Guardian and news.com.au report that Australia's fuel supply is slightly higher or the same as pre-crisis levels, while ABC states that panic buying has caused shortages at certain stations, particularly in the regions, implying localised shortages despite national stability claims. News.com.au claims the government is not contemplating fuel rationing, but The Guardian and ABC both state Bowen ruled out rationing in the short term, suggesting a potential timeline difference. The Guardian reports 6 ships were cancelled from Malaysia, Singapore, and South Korea, while ABC and news.com.au mention 6 ships but do not specify the exact countries. Only ABC mentions Malaysia and South Korea explicitly. This story was covered by ABC News, The Guardian, and news.com.au. Subscribe to Media Fact Checker for daily Australian news analysis.